social issues, education, religion, government, or national security. Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
And good evening. Welcome to the broadcast. Glad you are with us on this Friday night, June 20th, 2025. We're going to be joined tonight by Dave Govitz. He has penetrated over 425 mosques in America, former federal agent in the military. He interviewed a lot of the terrorists that they captured overseas. He'll tell us about some of them tonight. What they were saying was the next strike that they wanted to make on America. Heads up, it's your children, it's your grandkids, it's very young children, all the way up to the university level. We're also going to be joined tonight by Annie Cyrus. Here's an article she's just put out. Soundbite history versus lived reality. How Charlie Kirk butchered 58 years of Iran's history in less than 5 minutes. She's going to get into this because apparently there's going to be a big move to let people know why the prince isn't the man that should go back, the son of the Shah, and oversee a new Iran, a free Iran. I think she's going to send us some videos, or has, of the prince talking and his mother, the queen. Give you a history tonight with Annie Cyrus, as well as does she think America is at risk right now, or is there a window here where things will quiet down for us in the homeland before escalating, and why does she think that could happen? We'll talk to her about that tonight as well. How about this report right here? This is kind of, I hope none of you are eating dinner. Abortion in our water. Abortion in our water, a special report. Chemical home abortions and the disposition of aborted fetal remains by Liberty Counsel Action. And what it's about, folks, is the abortion pill. Those chemicals making it into our water. How about, I hate to be graphic, folks, but it's what we do. We have to report. How about aborted baby parts that are going down the septic tanks? Are they the toilets? Are there baby parts and this abortion pill making it into the drinking water? Even after it goes through all the processes, is it still not filtering out all of it? And therefore, is it making it into our drinking water? Is this leading to infertility rates in America? Or causing abortions in women who are drinking the water that has the abortion pill in it? These are questions I don't have the answers for, but I think our guest, Abigail, will tonight, because they've put out an incredible report over at the Liberty Counsel about it tonight, and I'm going to interview her about it. What about gold, silver, Jerome Powell not cutting the interest rates? Where are we going? President Trump quite frustrated with Jerome Powell this week, right? So I'm going to bring in I'm going to bring in Michael Weiner to talk about interest rates, the economy, where we're going with this U.S. economy under the current Federal Reserve Chairman. Did you know the FBI director, by the way, Kash Patel? Did you know he is aware that the Federal Reserve is basically a group of private banks given a federal charter? Did you know that? I don't know when we last had a Federal Reserve FBI director that knew this about the Federal Reserve. I want to play that video for you tonight. You might find that interesting as well. Before we get to it, folks, remember, we are brought to you by you. Please consider going now, worldviewtube.com/support. All the various ways you can support us. What? Sponsors. What did I say? Support? Worldviewtube. I'm glad he corrects me, aren't you? Worldview, because I need it. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Sometimes I just go into autopilot and don't really think. Worldviewtube. Do you ever do that when you get in the car, by the way? You go into autopilot and my wife will say, "Where are you going?" I'm like, oh, I was going to, the bank or the post office. The places that you're kind of used to going all the time. When I used to go out, which I don't do much anymore, but because I'm always here at this desk. They have me chained here. There's actually a chain around my ankle to the desk. I'm only allowed to get up so many times a day. But other than that, yeah, I get on autopilot when I get in the car when I would do that. Sometimes we do that here when I talk. So it's worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Thank you, Logan. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. We need your support, folks. These are great companies. I take Bella Grace every day. I take Numi every day. It's loaded with glutathione to detox my cells. In fact, some studies show that glutathione may reduce mercury from the brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. Parkinson's too. I don't know what that is, but maybe Parkinson's. Also, don't forget about the Gatatana. I take that every day as well. That's one scoop's equivalent of 90 billion plant cells. I take that every day. I give half a scoop on Dolly's food every day. We've got the Worldview water filter. We have the Worldview healthcare, so you have your meds ready to go. So if there is something that happens in the country, you're basically your own pharmacy ready to go. You don't have to go sit at urgent care. WorldviewHealthcare.com. All of these links are at WorldviewStore.com. No, WorldviewTube.com/sponsors. It's been a long week. I'm tired. WorldviewTube.com/sponsors. WorldviewTube.com/sponsors. We still have those beautiful hydrangeas here. It'll be 3 weeks. 3 weeks this Monday. My wife put those hydrangeas in that water. That's that filtered water, by the way. Man, if it does it for those flowers, what will it do for you and your health? That's the water I drink. That's the water I give Dolly. Logan, after hearing this report tonight about what's in the water, you might want to get a water filter at your place. Whew. And all right, let's get right to it. Joining me now is none other than Dave Gobbets. Dave Gobbets has been warning us now for several years as a guest on this program about the sleeper cells in the United States. He has visited undercover more than 425 mosques in America. You might remember we asked him to go down to Texas and give us a report. He did. And he brought us a signed statement on that report, warning about what is brewing, not only in Texas, but really what is a sign of what's brewing across the country. Now, you guys know that I've been pounding the news desk all week, frustrated, because I felt like we ought to be hearing from the president, particularly on the threats to our country, that if we strike Iran, we need to be ready as an American people for terrorist attacks in the country. And you guys, again, know that that's been my thing, talking about that for so many years, whether it's my documentary Sabotage or Siege or countless conferences and radio shows and TV shows. So, yes, I've been pretty aggressive this week in my frustration about the lack of communication from our nation's leaders all the way to the White House on the sleeper cells and threats to America. Well, praise the Lord. Our FBI director, Kash Patel, which came to us because of Donald Trump. So indirectly, Donald Trump is now warning America about the sleeper cells through his FBI director. Thank you, Mr. President, for doing that. I really do appreciate it. Now, I want to tell you what Kash Patel's warning about per several news articles, CBS probably being the first to leak it or put it out. But we also have today, this evening, President Trump himself now saying that we have to worry about terror cells targeting our president. So, finally, this week, what we've wanted is coming true, and at least 2 reports. And I think that sadly there'll be more to come. I don't want to see these reports, but we need to see these reports. The American people need to be ready for the serious existential threats. Joining me now is Dave Gobbets, former military man and federal agent Dave Gobbets. Dave, welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Brannon.
All right, David, we showed this report on radio today. It came out last night. Trump administration boosts monitoring of possible Iran-backed cells in the U.S. Look, I'm thankful that Kash Patel is warning about this. We need to have this warning. And Kash Patel has increased efforts to monitor possible domestic sleeper cells linked to Hezbollah. Of course, that's Iran. I'm thankful for this, but if we're monitoring them, why don't we just get them out of the country? That'd be the first question, David.
Well, I agree with you, Brannon. And something that strikes me is that they're talking about simply Hezbollah sleeper cells right now. And, of course, most people, well, maybe not, that most people don't know, that Hezbollah is a Shiite organization that falls under Iran. You know, you got the Sunnis and the Shiite, and that's something that's really not talked about very much, especially what's going on today. You've got Saudi, Kuwait, UAE, Qatar, and Pakistan and others who are assisting Israel and the United States to go after Iran. But the reason they're doing that is because Iran is their mortal number one enemy, sometimes even above Israel and America. And not only are there Hezbollah Shia sleeper cells in America, there are Sunni sleeper cells from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Egypt, etc. So we need to start talking a little bit about the different sects, the SECTS of Islam, because it's not just a coincidence that I think that President Trump right now is strong against Iran. Iran is Shia. He needs to be just as strong against Saudi Arabia and Qatar, who are Sunni Islam. But from what I'm watching over the years, many government leaders on the conservative side seem to shy away when talking about Saudi Arabia or Qatar. And we need to change our tune on that and be just as forceful against them.
Indeed. David, we have a clip where President Trump was on the tarmac today saying to the reporters, "You're standing here talking to me puts you at risk." Watch this and listen, please.
Or proxies would wage terror attacks against American targets abroad if you order military action.
We're always concerned about that, and we have to take them out and be very strong. You're even in danger talking to me right now. Do you know that? You are in danger talking to me right now. So I should probably get out of here. But you guys are actually in danger. Can you believe it?
Wow. So, again, he's now telling us there's terror cells in the U.S. Because he's in the U.S., he's in New Jersey on a tarmac, and he's telling them, you're in danger because you're standing next to me, which means there are terror cells in the U.S. But it's more than that. Wherever this guy goes, he basically has a bubble put over him, a national security bubble. So the fact that he says, you're in danger by standing here talking to me, he could be being a little bit facetious, but David, I don't think so. I think that there are greater threats to this country with drones and other things that are here than we're being told that he probably has been briefed on. What say you?
Oh, I agree with you, Brannon. You know, years ago, we used to always say, well, something's going to happen overseas, or this war will start overseas or abroad. Now we need to start thinking about things are going to start happening inside of America. And I think President Trump, who I support 100%, is trying to tell the American people exactly that. He's sitting in, you said, New Jersey at the time, and I've been to numerous mosques throughout New Jersey, and I can tell you there are hundreds and hundreds of individuals belonging to sleeper cells in New Jersey and all across the United States. I've encountered thousands and thousands from my discussions with people at mosques, and they are indeed sleeper cells across America, and the number one target would be our president. And I think he's trying to warn us right there to let us know.
Yeah, I think he is too. What about passports? I'm reading that Iran is generating fake passports and paperwork to get their operatives over the border from Mexico into America. I mean, obviously they could smuggle them in and do whatever else has been done the last few years, but apparently they want them to have some paperwork. What are you hearing?
I hear the same exact thing, and we have to only look at the immigration that ICE is doing with the raids. They have went to many companies where employers have actually tried to follow the rules with the E-Verify of the employees, and they're finding out that the illegal immigrants have false passports, false birth certificates. So it should be no surprise whatsoever that Islamic terrorists have the same thing. We encountered it in Iraq when I was there in 2003, and I know that it's happening right here in 2025.
Talk to me, David, about some of these other reports we're hearing about this week. This week we are hearing reports about 3,000-foot-long underground tunnel between Tijuana and San Diego. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's something that, of course, we know what Hamas was doing with tunnels, and they've done it in many other countries. When we went to Iraq in 2003, we encountered the same thing. Our enemy knows how to attack the United States. They know how to attack their enemy, and we can only 100% they have tunnels from going from Mexico right into the United States. And not only on the southern border, but we have to look at the northern border as well. In 2007, I'd written an article about sleeper cells in America and Canada. Now, remember, this is 2007. No one thought that illegal immigrants were coming across the border of Canada. Well, they were. I had information then, and I have current information that that's happening. So don't just always, I don't think that people should look at the southern border as where everything is happening, but we have to look at the northern border as well.
Here's actually an article I just found from 2014. This is from the Tampa Bay Times. Tampa Bay Times. The Iran connection to fake passports. And that's all the way back to 2014, David.
Yeah, well, we go back even to World War II, making fake documents, for our people who were engaged in spying activity against the Nazis and our POWs who were in camps in order to help with their escape. We manufactured fake documents. That's been going on for not just 10 years, but literally decades.
Here's a headline from Daily Mail. Cornered Iran could unleash sinister attacks on U.S. soil as it runs out of options against Israel, insider says. How do you feel about that? What do you hear in the mosque? Do you ever hear anything in the mosque about if the Khomeini is taken out or if Iran is attacked, this is what Americans should expect? Do you ever hear anything in the over 425 mosques you've gone undercover in?
Yes, I have. I go back to the Sunni and the Shia. Of course, as we know that Iran is Shia, I've been to numerous Iranian mosques throughout America, and in their own words and their documents, we know that they have an agenda against America and Israel. It's no secret. They have sleeper cells, and they have the means and the desire to produce fake documents in order to achieve their goals. People need to remember, within Islam, pure Muslims have absolutely no love or desire for life, human life. They would much better die and be a martyr than to live under what they call the oppression of America and Israel.
So do they ever tell you if America strikes Iran, if America takes out the Khomeini, the Supreme Leader Khomeini, this is what we'll do? Did they ever tell you what their plans are?
Yeah, I've been told that numerous times when I go to mosque, as late as this year, last year, that it's no secret that Islamic leaders will go to any length to harm America and Israel, to include when they get pushed up against the wall, which in their mind, they will commit terrorist attacks inside America that will be tenfold of what 9/11 was. And I've been told that directly several times.
Are we talking suicide vests? Are we talking suicide vests? Are we talking hitting restaurants, theaters, synagogues, churches? Are we talking, God forbid, hitting schools with children like happened in Beslan in Russia?
Oh, definitely. They talked about the children. I interviewed numerous Al-Qaeda and Saddam Fedayeen in 2003 that we had captured. And over again, I would ask these individuals, what is going to be the next type of attack in America? And Al-Qaeda members would tell me, they said, the next type of attack is that we're going to go after the hearts of the American people. I asked, what does that mean? I knew what that meant, but I asked, what does that mean? And over again, they said the hearts of the American people are the children of the American people. And they're going to start it from the grades of kindergarten all the way through our universities to try to win the hearts and minds, which they've done already. And when it becomes necessary, they would take violent action against the children of Americans because they know that is where it hurts the most.
I'm going to go here to Worldview Tube, and I'm going to put into our search engine here, The Perfect Day, because there's a book about that. And let's see what year pops up. I may have to wait for after the break. But, oh, look at that, 2007. I thought it was going to be 2008. The Perfect Day of Terrorism explained what every American should understand. And this is when we started interviewing John Gilduck, okay, again in 2008. Warning, and I just texted him the other day to get him back on next week. He was warning on my broadcast in 2007 about what you just heard from Dave Gavitz, who was interviewing guys they captured overseas who were telling him the next big attack will be your children. Let me ask David what he thinks about how light the security is at our schools, because it has really made me have a righteous indignation for years what we waste money on and not protecting our schools. We'll be right back.
True beauty isn't applied. It's nourished from within. Bella Grace Elixir, a luxurious, scientifically crafted blend designed to restore radiance, vitality, and strength at a cellular level. At the heart of Bella Grace Elixir lies cat's claw, a powerful herb from the Amazon known for its ability to control inflammation and protect collagen. With Verisol collagen peptides, it goes beyond the surface, stimulating your body's natural collagen production to reduce fine lines, improve skin elasticity, and promote real, visible change. Bella Grace Elixir doesn't stop at collagen. It includes astaxanthin, one of nature's most powerful antioxidants. 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C, astaxanthin protects your skin from harmful UV rays and environmental stress, while locking in hydration and promoting a radiant, youthful glow. Experience the power of nature with Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Discover the science behind Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Read powerful testimonials from doctors and real customers who've experienced life-changing results, and explore other wellness products from Bella Grace. Bella Grace Elixir is more than just a product. It's a solution. Visit melissahousebg.com today.
Looking for a trusted source to understand today's world through a Christian worldview? Worldview Tube is built on the 35 years of Worldview books, columns, research, and high-profile interviews of Brannon Howse. Want to know more about Worldview Tube, its founder, history, team, and mission? Visit worldviewtube.com/about. That's worldviewtube.com/about. Worldview Tube is your source for understanding the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
All right. Welcome back. Glad you're with us. You saw that spot in there about Bella Grace. Again, this is a real deal, folks. I take this every day. These are my hands, cracked and bleeding, before I got on Bella Grace in December 2023. And as I've told you when I've showed you this before, this is actually would be considered a moderate condition of my hands. There are pictures I could have shown you that were much, much worse with the bleeding and the cuts. You can actually see the cuts are kind of starting to heal over. So that's moderate. That's not even the worst, but it was year round. And so many people have now told us that they had psoriasis like this. Some people have had it in their hair, on their skin, their scalp, in their head, some on their hands, some on their feet, some on their face. And they, like myself, got on Bella Grace and it cleared up. Again, apparently Dr. Lucky and others say it's related to gut issues, leaky gut, and your gut is lined with collagen. And this Bella Grace has high-level collagen with the peptides cut short. So for those who say, hey, Brandon, I take collagen, I put it in my coffee every day. I don't think we're talking about the same kind of collagen, because this is not inexpensive collagen in this. It's very high-end collagen, specifically picked with the peptides cut short, so your body will actually absorb it. Then you add the astaxanthin that crosses the brain-blood barrier, and now we got a guarantee of it getting into your system. And studies show 95% of this gets into your body versus most collagen, you're flushing 95%. So folks, I use it every day. It's helped my acid reflux. My hands are just, look at that, healthy, and have been since December 2023, except for when I stopped taking a little bit when I got pneumonia last fall. And I really didn't feel like taking a whole lot of anything. And then the cuts started reappearing on my thumb. Got back on it, they went away. So this is the legit, folks. 80 clinical trials, MelissaHousebg.com. Joining me again, before we go to Annie Cyrus, is Dave Gavitz. He is a former federal agent who has gone undercover in more than 125 mosques in America. And I asked him before the break, do you know what they will do to attack our schools? Have they talked about it? He said when he was overseas in the military in 2003, the guys they would capture, they'd ask him, what's the next big attack? He said, we're going to go after the heart of your nation, your children, all the way down to kindergarten through universities. Well, again, I want to show you the perfect day. We started covering this with John Gillick, who wrote a book on Beslan, that's in Russia, where the Islamists did that. And many were saying, like John, on my show in 2007 and 2008, when I kept interviewing him, and I'm going to get him back on next week. I just texted him the other night. He warned this was, again, a pattern that could be repeated here in America. Dave, I got a audio clip I want to play you. And I know Annie is on with us waiting to come on board. I want her to hear this as well, because we had a guy call in today to my broadcast talking about some of the great threats to our country. And I want to play that here for you guys in a minute here. But first, when I think about what we do to secure our schools, I know they've tried to do more over the years with school shootings, but what they have with one resource officer, many of those guys are well-intentioned. They're married. They have children of their own. They're doing the best they can. But many of those guys don't have the training. Many of them, some of them may be, but many of them are probably not former special forces, not people that have been trained in combat to deal with this. And one guy dealing with a team of people that could hit these schools. How concerned are you that are, and I know that it would cost a lot of money to secure the schools the way they need to be secured, but when you look at all the money we've spent on illegal invaders and healthcare and all the stuff we've given them, housing and food cards, I mean, it's ridiculous that we don't secure our own children. Tell me about the lack of security at our schools and what concerns you.
I'm glad you brought that up, Brannon, because as I mentioned, I've talked to terrorists about that. And I hate to be pessimistic, but I also want to give people the real, pure truth. Our schools are very, very, very soft targets. It is absolutely on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the hardest, a 1 is what our schools are at, and what it would take for a terrorist to commit attack in our schools. And they would do this one of two ways. As you mentioned, we have resource officers. When a terrorist who has been hard trained, like in Al-Qaeda and ISIS and Hezbollah, Hamas, etc., through their training, they could infiltrate in a couple ways. One would be they actually get people employed in those schools. As I had mentioned, when I went undercover in CARE for 6 months, they have individuals who work in our Senate and congressional offices. The same way, Islamic terrorists would simply get people throughout the United States employed in the schools, either as volunteers or paid employees. And second, they have drones. I don't care if you have 10 resource officers at the school who are armed and every teacher who is armed. A drone can penetrate any school that we have in America. And that's simply the sad truth. We do need to put more resources into our schools, but these people do not care if they die. Once they pick a target, they would do anything and everything to achieve that goal. It's sad, Brannon.
We had a gentleman call in today on our 74 stations, and then here on Worldview Tube as well. I don't know who's calling in, from day to day, but I want you to hear this call. I want Annie Cyrus, who's in the wings, waiting to hear this call, because this man obviously is speaking from a lot of, I think, credibility. I don't know him, but I do think they got his number for me to communicate with him. But as he goes on, he talks about having been in this facility. You can hear his great concern, and he's tried to warn people, so he doesn't seem to get far. So he said, I just thought I'd call into your show, basically is what he said. I want you to listen to this and then respond to what a caller said today, calling into my broadcast. Listen, please.
Be supernaturally protected for 3.5 years.
Great question. Great answer. Rich, line 4. Hi, Rich from Wisconsin. Thanks for calling in, Rich.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I'm going to be as vague as I can and still communicate information. The Chicagoland area is ripe for dirty bomb nuclear terrorism, with the cities being surrounded on all sides except for Lake Michigan with power plants, nuclear power plants, and all of the waste is still there. And there's another facility directly west of downtown Chicago, which has lots of nuclear waste from other power plants, which the federal government hasn't done anything about yet. And I'm just calling to say, watch when stuff starts. Watch what happens there, because it's a ripe place for dirty bomb or even conventional explosives would create massive havoc in the Chicagoland area.
Rich, you're a great caller, and if their government and our federal government had been concentrating on what government should be doing, they could efficiently clean this stuff up, get it where it cannot be accessed. But of course, we know the state government of Illinois is so corrupt and so busy in Chicago defending as a sanctuary state and spending so much money giving housing and money to illegal invaders. I mean, this is a perfect strategy of America's enemies, have us so distracted, or put the Marxists into power, the CCP people into power, the red-green axis, the Islamists as well into power, and then let these kind of things happen. It's a natural result of not fulfilling a Romans 13 purpose of government. Would you agree?
I would agree, but I could just say one more to add another level to it. It was Jimmy Carter back in 1979 that stopped the General Electric company that built the facility to reprocess spent fuel directly west of Chicago, about 50 miles, stopped them from doing it. And so now that plant has been sitting there since 1979, just I'll say waiting, and I've been in the facility a number of times waiting for something to happen. And
are you the only one that has this concern, Rich? Rich, are you? Have other people been warning about this? In other words, question would be too: can you not become a whistleblower?
They've got to know about this. It's a federal facility.
Yeah, but wait a minute. That was the key word.
All of it's been
the key word. Federal facility. You're assuming that people in the federal government are smart, and a lot of them maybe are, but a lot of them aren't.
Oh, I am not assuming the federal government agencies are smart, but that is no. But you're right. But I mean, they were the ones involved in the licensing and withholding the license. And it's a large facility, and I just can't. I've been cautious to even say anything. I've tried calling calling in for years because I see this is going to happen. I was a teacher, and I said for years when we were teaching on nuclear issues, I said, watch the news. Someday this plant is going to be terrorized. Something's going to happen there.
Wow.
And I mean, for 40 years, 45 years, it's been basically in mothballs, and it's filled with high-level radioactive waste.
Rich, hold the line. I want Dalton, whoever's at the board, to give you my cell phone number. You feel free to text David, what do you think about what you just heard from my radio show today from a caller?
Well, he was spot on in everything he talked about, and that really goes back to what I was saying, that we consider 9/11 to be awful and drastic, which it was, but they have the capability with dirty bombs and much, much more to have 10 9/11s on any one given day.
Annie Cyrus is going to join us in just a minute, and it was Annie that told me about this next story. I'm going to look, see if I can find it real quick. Here it is. I showed it the other night, but it's the Washington Post. Iran turns to Hell's Angels and other criminal gangs to target critics. Iran has cultivated ties with criminal networks in the West to carry out a recent wave of violent plots in the United States and Europe. That's from September 12th, 2024. This is consistent with what you've told us. I want you to comment on this specific connection, I guess, between Iran and Hell's Angels, bikers. And you told us, though, that from your underground work in these mosques in America, you've said, yeah, they're encouraging their members to go out and build relationships with gangs and make sure they have semi-automatics and Glock switches and whatnot. Comment on these two things, because when I read this, I thought, wait a minute, Dave Gobbets already warned us about this.
Yeah, when I went to, like you had mentioned, I've been over 425 mosques inside undercover, and they are simply safe houses. They're safe houses for terrorist sleeper cells, and they are safe houses for illegal immigrants, and this is where they do their planning for future terror attacks. They do it inside the mosque in America, and what you said is exactly right. They're simply safe houses for war planning. They have ties to all illegal type gangs. I had mentioned one time to you about an Imam Siraj Wahaj out of Brooklyn, New York, who told his Muslim worshipers, he said, go out into the streets of Los Angeles, Chicago, wherever it may be, bring in the gangs into the mosque, give them Islam, and then send them back out onto the streets with AK-47s and other type weapons. And they're doing that today.
All right. So in closing, David, what do you think is going to happen in the Middle East? I know you can't see into the future, so it's a theory. But if we do strike in Iran, they're talking about using maybe even suicide bombers on the Straits of Hormuz and disrupting trade and making fuel prices, energy prices go up. What do you expect? What would you caution Americans about or warn them about right now on the American soil in the coming days, weeks, months?
My professional opinion, based on 45 years of work in Islamic matters, I would say that the sooner that we go in and use the bunker bombs, take out the nuclear facilities, and continue to rain hard for a couple weeks after that, the less likelihood that they're going to be able to rebound. If we wait 1, 2, 3 weeks, then we're going to see more of exactly what you and I have been talking about today on the show.
What about the concerns if they lose communications with Iran? Do they have a dead hand switch or anything, if you will? Even if it's a written rule, hey, if we lose communication, you're activated.
Yeah, I don't think it matters at this point whether we're communicating or not communicating with Iran. I think we need to. No,
I mean, they're terror cells. If their terror cells lose communication.
Oh, yeah, their terror cells have been given instructions for years and years. They already have their plans all throughout the United States, throughout the Middle East. But and there are always going to be risk with any war. Of course, there's going to be some backlash, but I think the sooner the better. We're going to have less backlash.
Give your email address if people want to get a hold of you, David.
It's davegobbets@gmail.com. Ask me any question, and I'll give you my best answer.
David, I hope folks will also get your book, Muslim Mafia. I'd promote a website or his X account, but he doesn't do any of that, folks. But David, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for all your help tonight.
Thank you so much, Brannon. I appreciate it.
And for your service to our country and all the work you're continuing to do. Remember, he went down to Texas for us and grabbed that report and brought it to us a couple weeks ago. Remember that? All right, we come back. We're going to be joined by Annie Cyrus. I want to hear what she thinks about what she just heard, and some new reports, including Charlie Kirk. Did he just get a lot of Iranian history wrong? We'll find out. Don't go away.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house. Very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His bank was shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, you know, I know you and Brannon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private. So you people out there who are sitting on your hands when Wes and I are sending you these requests and Brandon and you are talking to you, you better get active because you're going to pay me $4,000 an ounce the end of the year. Trust me.
You better get your. I highly suggest you get your free packet. You don't have to do anything. It's free, no obligation. Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com, or just text Wes and give him your name and address and say, I want the free packet. That's all you got to do. 602-558-8585, 602-558-8585.
You are watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon Howse.
Folks, please go to worldviewtalk.com. Get your free satellite phone. Yeah, free. I have one. Free when you sign up for one of their very reasonable monthly plans. And the great thing about Tina over at Worldview Talk, the CEO, she lets you roll your minutes over. So I have a lot of minutes stacked up. God forbid the power grid goes down or the cell towers go down. I can call my family members who have a satellite phone as well. So I can stay in touch with family members across the country, right? My parents, my sister, different people. So here's the thing. Do you have a satellite phone? If you want to get a free one, you can when you go to worldviewtalk.com. You know what you also need to do? I think you need to get one of their solar generators. I have their Delta Echo 400. You can check out their solar generators as well. I would probably suggest you call them at that 866 number because you're going to want to ask questions to make sure you're getting the right size solar generator for whatever your needs are, what it is you want to run, a refrigerator, lamps. I mean, how much do you want to run? Depends on the size generator you're going to need to then order. 1-866-738-3224, 1-866-738-3224. They also have Starlink, and we have one of their portable Starlinks. Did you know that? And you can get one of them. You can also put them on the side of your house, or you get a portable one that you use in your RV, or maybe you have a cabin in Michigan or Minnesota or Wisconsin. You don't want internet to pay for it there and at your main home. Well, you don't have to have internet at both places that you're paying for. You can take the portable Starlink with you. You can find that at worldviewtalk.com or by calling 1-866-738-3224. These are sponsors that pay us when you use their great products and services. And again, we don't promote companies we don't believe in or whose products and services we ourselves don't use. We get a lot of companies wanting to be one of our sponsors, and we turn down so many because it's got to be something we really believe in. It really does. So there you go. All right. Joining me now is Annie Cyrus, born and raised in Iran. She doesn't like when I say Iran. So Iran. She joins us here tonight from liveuptofreedom.com and liveuptofreedom.substack.com. She has a brand new article out tonight about Charlie Kirk, and did he just destroy years of Iranian history in a matter of minutes. I want to get to that new article by her, but first, Annie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Will you respond to what you just heard tonight from Dave Gobbets? I know Dave and I and you are all mutual friends, and you know his son real well as I do.
Yes, of course. I pretty much, it's hard to say anything or add anything after Dave Gobbets has spoken, but I agree with everything you said, and I'm also very glad. I don't know what the reason is, and I don't need to, but I'm very glad Kash Patel is calling it It's one thing to keep an eye, but then it's a different thing to have the proper language. It's been a while since we heard our FBI have the right language behind it. I still believe that we are in a safe zone, meaning we're not necessarily facing an attack tomorrow or next week. But if things go the way they are going, and with that, I actually have some breaking news for your program tonight. If it goes the way it's going, now I would say we have about maybe 30 to 60 days before we face a major terror attack here in America.
Okay, why are you saying that?
Can we break the news first and then I'll say
absolutely.
what? Okay. Logan, you have 2 emails. One just subject said video. It's Crown Prince Pahlavi. Can we play that? It's in Farsi, but I have subtitle on it. Confirm that I have translated it myself. It's only like 2 minutes or so. Is that okay if you play it for your audience to hear what he just announced?
Okay.
Okay.
همیهنان عزیزم، بسیاری از شما در پاسخ به پیامی که اخیراً به شما دادم با من تماس گرفته اید و کاملاً برای من محسوس هستش که چقدر عزم و اراده شما راسخ است. البته میدونم که رژیم اینترنت رو قطع کرده، تلفن رو قطع کرده، با امید ایجاد یأس در شما. ما باید این دیوارهای سانسور رو بشکنیم و امیدوارم که این ارتباطاتمون همچنان برقرار بمونه. میخواستم راجع به 2 نکته مهم باهاتون صحبت بکنم. نخست این که اطلاعاتی که از درون کشور به من میرسه نشون دهنده این هستش که ساختارهای کنترل و اطلاعاتی نظام رو به فروپاشی است، حتی بیشتر از 2 روز پیش، و این یک علامت این هستش که نظام بیشتر و بیشتر داره شکننده میشه. البته کنار این مسئله مهمتر این هستش که جهانیان نیز متوجه دارن میشن که دیگه این نظام داره نفسهای آخرش رو میکشه و اتفاقا ارتباطاتی که اخیراً با من و تیم من گرفته شده نشون دهنده این هستش که کم کم دارن به فکر این که پس از این نظام چه باید کرد و چه اتفاقاتی در ایران میتونه بیفته با ما مشغول تبادل نظر هستن و خودم و تیمم در این مورد بسیار فعال هستیم. نکته دیگر این که بسیاری از پرسنل ارتش و همچنان از مقامات دولتی یا امنیتی آنها نیز به سهم خود به من اطلاع دادن که دارن خط خودشون رو از رژیم جدا میکنن و به زودی این رو به شکل مشهود به شما مردم نشان خواهند داد. این اهمیت اتحاد و یکصدایی همگی ماست که باعث خواهد شد نهایتاً این نظام رو شکست بدیم و پیروز بشویم. بنابراین سنگر رو ترک نکنیم، همینطور که تا به حال مقاومت کردید ادامه بدید. من به همگی شما درود میفرستم و امیدوار هستم که هر چه زودتر بتونیم در آزادی و رفاه آینده بهتری رو برای کشورمون رقم بزنیم.
Okay, Annie, my monitor in front of me, 85-inch, is a big monitor, but they have 2 windows up there with clocks for me to monitor and watch, so it makes your window too small to have read that. So can you tell me what he just said, please? I can't read it.
Number one, he just announced that the world, he phrases it as world, but players, European countries and such have already contacted him and they are in communication with him of day after regime collapses.
Wow.
And then he also announced that he has been directly receiving calls from Iran's military, government officials and security officials that have told him that they are separating themselves from the regime, and very soon they're going to show people of Iran that they are going to work with people of Iran to topple the regime.
Now, how does this fit in with the threats you're concerned about 60 days from now?
Okay. I'm not going to say if, because this has never happened in 46 years. Prince Pahlavi has never sat on camera, say things or claim things that weren't true. He has never claimed what he just claimed either. So looks like, except President Trump, every other leader of Western country is seeing the collapse of the regime, and they are going to possibly get behind transition of Pahlavi becoming the at least transitional government. The closer we get to that point, there's a higher chance for the IRGC, not the Supreme Leader, not Hezbollah, the IRGs, because right now they are to lose power, for them to make the call for their sleeper cells to start attacking.
And how concerned are you for the life of the prince himself?
I'm not concerned at all. His security right now is top of the. You can't touch him. Nobody can touch him right now. Him or our queen, which also released a video today. If we have time, we can play it. If not, that's okay.
Let's play it.
دفعه اوله که یه همچه حرفی رو میزنم به آقایون ارتش و سپاهیان و بسیجیان و قوای نظامی و انتظامی که اینهایی که در خیابان میان و زندگی بهتر، زندگی که واقعا باید لایقشون باشه میخوان، اینا خواهران، برادران، فرزندان، خانواده های شما هستن. شما فکر فرزندان خودتون و خانواده های خودتون رو بکنین که در فردای ایرانی آزاد بتونن با دوستی هم میهنان با هم صحبت کنن. اینو فراموش نکنید و الان موقعش هست که حس کردید که واقعا مردم زندگی بهتر و ایران بهتری رو میخوان و اون چیزی که میخوام همیشه تکرار میکنم که نور بر تاریکی پیروز خواهد شد. خدا نگهدار همتون.
Wow. So she's saying to the
Think
folks,
about your family members tomorrow in a free Iran. Can they coexist with fellow citizens in peace? That was the most diplomatic, queen-like threat she could put out there for IRGC and Basij.
because basically, once this regime is done, those people are going to be coming for the IRGC. Exactly. And their family members. And that's the thing. Look, when Islamic Revolution happened, the very first step was for IRGC, per order of Khomeini, to go pick up anyone related somehow to any connection to Pahlavi's kingdom. So basically, our queen is saying, if you don't start take care of people on the streets, guess what? And I love how she said, think of that tomorrow in a free Iran. Like, how close is she feeling to free Iran to put this video out? And she's right. She has never done a direct message to IRGC or Basij or police in Iran, ever. Like that, again, we don't know what's happening between these phone calls that Prince Pahlavi just said that he's heavily involved in communication with leaders of the world. We don't know how close we are to it, but we have to be close enough for the Queen to do such a video. Let's talk about your article. You have a brand new article up at liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Here it is. Soundbite history versus lived reality. How Charlie Kirk butchered 58 years of Iran's history in less than 5 minutes. Tell me why you wrote the article.
So a video, a 4.5 minute, a little more than a 4.5 minute video was sent to me by a dear friend of mine 3 days ago, genuinely asking what are your thoughts on his thought process. So I watched a video, Charlie Kirk, which that video is embedded in the Substack for anyone who wants to confirm. And he goes on making a great point. We should not get involved with the war. We should not get involved with the regime change for sure. However, he goes on to prove his point by absolutely butchering 58 years of Iran history, reading through the propaganda books that was written by Carter and CIA, and just spitting it right out on camera. So I wrote back to the friend and said, every historical fact inaccurate, moved on with my night, but then something was bugging me. I couldn't. Like, I agree with you, Charlie, on not getting involved with the regime change. We are terrible at that. But I can't sit here and allow your millions of followers believe what you just told them is true. I can't sit here and let you use the exact sentence of propaganda book. Mossadegh was a communist. Dr. Mossadegh died defending the constitution of Iran during Pahlavi. How dare you would sit there with your quick Google search of your writers in your script saying Mossadegh was a communist. He made history for us Iranians.
Wait a minute. Who did he accuse of being a communist?
Mossadegh. Dr. Mossadegh, the man who, the prime minister during Shah Pahlavi, the man who stood to America. And funny enough, Charlie Kirk goes on to say he was a bad guy, he was a communist, and he was hostile to American economy interest. Oh, I see where you're going with that, Charlie. Yes, he was. He's the man who nationalized the oil of Iran. He's the man who said to US and UK, no more oil. I'm taking this and giving it to people of Iran. And you call this man a communist on your show to prove that we placed him and then we toppled him because he was a communist. Then he goes on to bash Reza Shah, the first of Pahlavi dynasty, claiming he was an American puppet that we put in place, which I broke the history for anyone who's interested to read. Reza Pahlavi started the Pahlavi dynasty by a military coup that he was the general of the military.
Okay, so the Shah was the military general.
Exactly.
And he started a military coup
to overthrow the Qajar dynasty.
And why did he do it? What did he say his reasons were?
Because at that point, Qajar dynasty pretty much sold 70% of our land to Islam. Through Qajar dynasty, if you look at Qajar dynasty, everybody is like Afghanistan today. Full hijab, burqa, niqab, hands under the burqa. They were selling us to Islam. Mind you, this is the same Pahlavi king who banned Sharia in Iran.
So should Charlie Kirk have called that gentleman not a communist, but a Islamist sympathizer or Islamist? Was he? What was he?
No, funny enough, he actually ends with he was a communist and he was a secular. He wasn't even Islamist.
So why was he doing that? Why was he selling you guys out to the Islamists?
Because he wasn't. No. Okay, sorry, let me go back. The Pahlavi king we're talking about is before Mossadegh.
Okay.
And then we have Prime Minister Mossadegh. And then we have King Pahlavi, who's the father of Crown Prince.
Okay. We refer to him as the Shah. That's what we all know him as, yeah?
Yes. But that's the thing. I had to create a table of time because Charlie Kirk jumps what I just did to follow his rhythm. That's what he did. He mixes everybody up. He claims after Dr. Mossadegh, Shah of Iran was so weak and ill, he couldn't run the country. And I'm like, Mossadegh was toppled in 1953. Shah was overthrown in 1979. How did he run the country? He went through a wide revolution while weak and ill to run a country.
And by the way, he did his military coup as a general because the country is being sold out to the Islamists.
By the previous dynasty, yes. Now, and he didn't want to be the king. This one is actually on Google as well. He wanted, because he came to power shortly after Ataturk, the father of Turkey, he wanted to copy Ataturk's republic, democracy. He was forced by France, UK, and the mullahs in Iran to start a monarch because they were too worried they're going to lose Iran like they lost Turkey. And that's a fact because he claimed that Reza Shah was an absolute monarch. No, he wasn't. He was forced to become a king when he freed Iran from the Qajar dynasty. And he put the last nail in the coffin for me to write this is when he claimed if we have a regime change in Iran, there will be civil war. Where are these people going to go? Europe. They're going to create a refugee crisis and flood Europe.
Let me ask you when I come back. What about reports today, true or false, that some of the leaders of Iran could find themselves in Canada? Oh, that was in the press today. I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe check it out during the break. I want Annie to respond to that. Could some of these characters end up in Canada? More on the other side. Her website is liveuptofreedom.substack.com. We'll be right back.
There's really only one person in the world, and you've had him on the show, Dr. Mark Miller, who understood what would happen if you combined these three ingredients: the collagen, the Versol B collagen, the asteryl astaxanthin, and the cat's claw. And each one of them independently are amazing, but when you put them together synergistically, they increase each other's power. And that's why we're getting all these amazing results. And the reason why they're so great, Brendan, is because when you take a look at collagen, you mentioned it, hair, skin, nails, but collagen also makes up 40% of the protein in your body, makes up your gastrointestinal lining. This is why you're not having to take Pepcid anymore. It makes up your joint spaces, your bone health, your teeth health. You need a good collagen in you, and we have the best, but it's because of the other two ingredients. Asteryl astaxanthin, 70 human clinical trials. And by the way, collagen, or Verisol B collagen, has 10 human clinical trials behind it. Astaxanthin is water soluble and fat soluble, so it can get and protect around the cell, but it can also get into the cell and protect inside the cell, where it sets up by the mitochondria, the powerhouse energy producing organelles. And when it produces energy, it's going to spit out some free radicals, and we need a great antioxidant to absorb those and scavenge those free radicals. And there's nothing better than astaxanthin. It's 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C, 3,000 times stronger than resveratrol, 850 times stronger than CoQ10, 350 times stronger than green tea extract. It is the powerhouse, the king of all antioxidants. And then let's not forget about the cat's claw. Cat's claw is the king of I would say, from a standpoint of reducing and eliminating inflammation. That's what it does. It really targets that nuclear factor kappa B. Not really necessarily, you know that, but that's the pathway to your cells that causes us so many problems, because chronic inflammation in our bodies causes health issues. And when we can reduce and eliminate that, we have a home run. And that's what the cat's claw does. The astaxanthin is also an anti-inflammatory. Collagen also has properties of being anti-inflammatory. Synergistically together, these three are a powerhouse.
And welcome back. Glad you're with us. Annie, what did you find out during the break? I read reports today that some of the Iranian leaders could take exile in Canada. What are you hearing about that?
What I am hearing is somewhat close to reality. Now, mind you, some government, Islamic regime government officials like Rafsanjani's family, they have very big ties to Canada. They own two of the major highways in Canada. So
they own two of the major highways
in Canada. Yes.
So they have private highways owned by private people, private companies.
Exactly. So Rafsanjani family can easily get to Canada. From what I understand, they already have their Canadian citizenships as well. So they're not even, seeking refuge. They're just going to get on the planes, arrive in Canada, show their passport, go in. However, to be fair, for last 2 years, Canadian government has done a lot of revoking green cards, or whatever they call it there, and citizenships of those who have ties to IRGC. They did deport two of their former citizens whom citizenships were revoked, and they were deported. So as far as a lot of IRGC members and regime members, family members being able to get to Canada, absolutely. Now the question comes down to, will Canada let them come in? Or is Canada going to revoke their citizenships and their permanent residency before they even arrive? That is the million-dollar question right now.
All right, so let's go back to the Charlie Kirk article.
Yes.
Pick it up.
So at the very end, he claims that if there is he compares Iranians or Iran with Libya and Iraq, which I addressed that, which I've been addressing that for days now, for years now. We're not Arabs, we're Persians. We're not Muslims. We're forced to obey Islam. There is a difference. We've been trying to topple the regime. So if somebody comes and take this regime, we're not going to kill him. We're probably going to make him a dinner and put a nice music on and enjoy the dinner. But apparently it's not clicking with people. We are not Arabs. Then he goes on to say, if you have a regime change, you will have civil war in Iran, and all of these Iranians are going to flood Europe and create refugee crisis. So me, being me, not on the upset part or offended part of an Iranian side of me, I'm an Iranian immigrant. I have not created any refugee crisis for anybody. I didn't even jump over borders. You barely find reports of illegal Iranians. Very barely. And if you do, they have ties to IRGC or the regime. So, but I went and found a video of Charlie Kirk himself I don't know if it's even possible. I'm sorry, I should thought about this, but if it's possible for you or Logan to play the second video embedded on that Substack here or not. But I found the video that he did on one of his campus shows on December 10th, 2024. That's about 7 months ago. He has specifically addressed Iranian immigrants in America. So I use that, putting the entire transcript of that video and embedding the video. Okay, which one is it, Charlie? I'd like to know. So are Iranians going to be the problem and flood Europe and create immigration crisis? Or are we the people you're talking about stating that Iranians by far are the most success story of immigration in history of America? Which one is it?
All right, I think I have the clip. Here we go. See if it'll play. And push that button there, Brannon. I don't think it's going to play on my end, Logan, for some reason.
It should, if it's inside the Substack, it should just play.
Yeah, Logan.
Oh, your browser.
My internet is acting really weird out here tonight, so I've been having a very difficult time. But I bet you Logan can get it played. So Logan will try that.
What country of origin is your family?
There we go.
Or
my family's from Iran.
Iran. Okay. Yeah. So here's a great example. Iranians, Persians, you guys do not need DEI. You're the most successful immigrant group to America by far because you're some of the smartest, hardest working, and you did that without any sort of favors and any sort of handouts. I mean, Persian businessmen have done amazing in America, not because of DEI. In fact, DEI would say, oh, Persians are too successful. We're going to call them white, and we're going to try to have another group be more successful. And so I just, to kind of personalize it to you, Persians have benefited from the idea, don't give me anything, don't give me stuff, just give me a chance. And because of that, Persians or former Iranians are some of the wealthiest immigrant groups in the history of America.
Okay. Tell us again what he said wrong there.
No, what he said there is great. On the recent video 2 days ago, on the less than 5 minute video, he says, these people, Iranians, if we topple the regime, the Iranians are going to flood the Europe and create immigration crisis. So, I mean, I think it's hypocrisy, isn't it? 7 months ago, we're the best group of immigration they could ask for. But now somehow weaponizing Iranians going to Europe could create immigration crisis.
Do you think...
I call that hypocrisy.
Do you think... is the reason you're doing this, Andy, and you made this article by you is one of the longest I've ever seen you write in one article. I mean, you'll do a series. This is one of the longest articles I've ever seen you write, and it's, one article. Are you doing this because you sense that there's coming a massive propaganda campaign against the son of the Shah, the prince? As he builds momentum in his home country to come back, that there's going to be an all-court press to discredit him?
Yes. And so there's absolutely a propaganda machine activated against him. And it's so... almost as scary, Brannon, when I see the mirror image of the propaganda machine they use against his father. And I'll explain what I mean.
And then, by the way, who was involved in ousting his father again?
Carter. As far as our government goes, CIA and Carter.
Okay. So here's my question. I'm not accusing any individual. Do you believe that some of these people that have popped up on social media the last few years with basically zilch for books they've written, documentaries they've produced, years of radio shows and TV shows. Like you and I have a long history, right? A lot of the people we work with have a long history. Some of these guys pop up, gals pop up out of nowhere with no real strong history or resume, and they just got all of a sudden supposedly all these followers. Do you believe that we have more people in, there's been the Mockingbird media report coming out of Churchill, Church's committee, but I didn't care for him as an individual. He was a U.S. senator from, if I remember correctly, Idaho. But the report was that the media was, and there was some admission to it in some hearings, penetrating the media. Do you believe today that the CIA still penetrates the media, but do you believe they've penetrated, quote, social media, MAGA media? Do you believe a lot of these people that are talking certain ways are getting USAID or the equivalent funding from the government, even if it's dark money? And I'm not accusing any individual. I'm not accusing any particular group or organization. I'm just asking, do you think that goes on? And when if this momentum for the prince to go back to Iran continues, do you think you'll start seeing some of these people trying to discredit the prince? And the question is, if the CIA was involved in ousting the Shah, do you really think they want his son going back? And do you think that we should be very leery of the mouthpieces and who's funding them to start attacking the prince?
100% on everything you said. And I will expand it to, yes, there are posts out there saying, Candace Owen is getting money from Qatar and Tucker's getting Qatarian money. I don't think Qatar's funding anybody, people. It's not Qatar. No, it's the CIA. A lot of what Candace Owen, anybody who pays her, she'll say whatever they want her to say because that's Candace Owen. The brain cells aren't there for her to differentiate between what she's saying or what she's believing. But the rest of them...
Let me just have you throw in there, in my opinion. Just say that word right there, in my opinion.
In my very professional, educated, researched opinion.
Okay, good. I'm just doing that because we're living in a day and age where apparently people don't have free speech anymore. So I always, and the audience probably notices, I always say, well, in my opinion, or I believe, I'm following the rules I was taught as a broadcaster, right? Because and it's worse now than it was when I started, right? Now, basically, I guess you can't say squat about people. So, in your opinion, keep talking.
Yes, everything I'm saying is my opinion. But the campaign has already started, but they haven't started directly going after Prince Pahlavi yet. They have started the campaign of no regime change, because if we change regime, then it's going to be huge consequences for us here in America. That is the first step. It's going to fail because, again, when CIA was trying to topple the Shah of Iran, it was just 2 TV channels in Iran, 4 radio channels, and probably 5 or 10 channels here. Now it's millions of mouthpieces out there countering each other. And even though this counter piece took me almost 12 hours to finish and publish, I won't give up. The next mouthpiece who claims anything wrong with the history or people of Iran, I'm going to sit there and write the next one too. So they're going to have to step up their game. Just bunch of little regime change bad for America is not going to work. That's when they're going to go after credibility of those of us who are supporting him. They're going to go after credibility of his own team. And at the end of the day, they're going to go after his credibility. But the good news is people of Iran, unlike Charlie Kirk, they are very well aware of their own history. There is no way they're going to fall for any propaganda of Western countries this time around. They will stick with Prince Pahlavi, and then after repositioning and transition, I don't know how U.S. is going to make any kind of good relationship with Iran at that point if they're going to go all out trying to do to him what they did to his father. That's something they should consider before stepping up even further on trying to not allow him to become the next government or involve government in Iran.
What do you make of reports of an earthquake, of like a 5.0 earthquake in Iran? What do you make of that? Are they being attacked, or is that them testing more nuclear weapons?
I did a quick research on the location. I could not find any of their facilities that I'm aware of close enough to create that. So it's almost certain, in my opinion, it was not a nuclear test of Iran. I have seen few reports of some of the bombs that were close enough to make the shake. But then I'm leaning on this one. I'm actually leaning more towards natural earthquake by itself. However, again, sometimes it's like 70, 30, 10. So right now for me, 70% it was, and it is an area, it's not prone like Los Angeles, but it does once in a while have earthquake. So, and with all the, again, I'm in no shape or form an expert when it comes to earthquakes, but between all the missiles and the bombing going on in the surrounding area, something could have triggered the actual natural earthquake to happen. I would say 70% earthquake, 30% there could have been one of the missiles or bombs from Israel hitting the area.
All right. Any other closing information you want to give us tonight?
Stay very alert on what's coming out of our media. I have seen some reports that are so baseless that it's just embarrassing. Stay with the networks like Worldview Tube, Brannon, Howse Live, myself, Dave Pine, Sharon Mahadian, Aaron Lavarco. Those of us who are not here to get clicks, we're here to inform you, because a lot of websites out there who were great sources until a week ago are turning into this not confirmed information published, clickbait titles. So be very aware of information you're absorbing right now, because things can go from where it's at to the next chapter overnight, and you don't want to get lost. You don't want to get lost in what's happening, especially if it results, unfortunately, if it results on certain attacks here in America. And so stay alert.
Do you think that we'll see anything over the weekend? Am I going to be able to study all weekend on my Revelation 17 lesson for Sunday night, or am I going to find myself back at the news desk Saturday and Sunday?
The main thing, which already have started, that I reported on my page, a lot of outside in Western countries, the rallies are starting, and a lot of clash. In London yesterday, they were arrested 8 people from both sides of pro-regime, anti-regime, starting to beat each other up. So that's the only thing you can expect over the weekend. A lot of Iranians outside of Iran doing rallies pro-Pahlavi or pro-regime, having clashes. Other than that, I think we should have just a steady war going on over the weekend.
Okay, liveuptofreedom.substack.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. You want to check out our studio where she does a lot of beautiful handmade artwork herself. LUTF Studio, LUTF, it's Live Up to Freedom, LUTFstudio.com. Annie, thank you for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brannon. Be safe.
Thank you. We'll be right back, folks.
2 years ago, whatever was 100% of my traffic to my website, it's been crashed by 95%. That's stunning to me. Mostly Google has done it, but other actors as well. What's happening on a global basis, there's a war against free speech. It's not just an incidental thing, oh, we just want to shut somebody up. That's not it. This is an orchestrated, top-down war against free speech. All the things you have coming out of Worldview Tube and Weekend, etc., all of these things are expression of free speech. And I can dare say that their traffic has been hammered as well. If they're successful, these masters of tyranny, if these people are successful shutting down free speech, we're all dead at that point, basically, because that's where the killing is going to start. This is what's on the chopping block right now. The reason you look at this organization just as because you could get something out of it, right? You should look at this organization as an organization that needs to support just to keep free speech alive, period. Who are you going to turn to at this point if this voice was silenced? Where would you go? Newsmax? Give me a break. No. Fox News? No. So I want to encourage you. Support the foundation, support Brannon's work here any way that you can.
Joining me now is Abigail Foreman. She's a public policy analyst, and she is one of the authors of this, Abortion in Our Water, a special report, Chemical Home Abortions and the Disposition of Aborted Fetal Remains. Folks, we talk a lot about stuff that's in your water here, right? A lot because of one of our sponsors. We talk about chlorine, fluoride, pesticides, all kinds of stuff. But folks, this is taking it to a whole new level, and we should all be absolutely appalled. It's a special report by friends at the Liberty Council, lc.org. Abigail joins us now. Abigail, thank you for being with us, and thank you for putting out this report. Tell me about it, please.
Yes, well, it's a pleasure to join you, and thank you for having us on. The report essentially is exposing how over time the use of the chemical abortion pill has increased dramatically, such that now of the over 1 million abortions that occur annually, the vast majority of them, I would say up to 70%, given that a lot of abortions are underreported, but we know at least 63%, that was in 2023, occur with the chemical abortion pill. So women take this pill, then they're told by abortion providers, they're usually told to just sit on the toilet and wait to see what happens. And so they pass their fetal remains, their babies, their placentas, their blood, the tissue, developing skulls, cranium, etc. That's all going into the toilet, into wastewater systems, along with the active mifepristone metabolites that caused the death of the child. Wastewater system plants, wastewater treatment plants, they're not meant to dispose of human remains. Obviously, we know this. We have medical waste companies for that purpose. They're also not equipped. They're not designed to remove the chemical contaminants. You already mentioned there are several other contaminants in our water that are in our drinking water supply. And so we believe it's highly likely that mifepristone metabolites are also in our drinking water.
What does that mean for people, the audience, male or female, that are drinking this water? What does it mean for a mother that drinks it that's maybe pregnant, even if she's just pregnant by a few days or a few weeks?
It's a great question. The reality is we think that means there's a risk of harm. We don't actually know, however, because the research on our drinking water, on mifepristone metabolites in our drinking water is scarce. There's hardly any research on it. The federal government failed to do its due diligence when it originally approved the pill in 2000. They should have done this research. They should have done this environmental study, but they didn't. However, what we do know is absolutely cause for concern. So we know, like I said, there are other pharmaceutical contaminants in our water. There are other endocrine disruptors in our water. So let me just drill down on that. What is an endocrine disruptor? It's something that can affect your body's hormones and how your body's hormones work. It can interfere with your body's hormones. Mifepristone is a potential endocrine disruptor. It's metabolites. So you take the pill, a woman takes the pill, metabolizes in their body, and the metabolites stay active when they're excreted. They go into our wastewater systems. If they are active and they're retaining the effects of the parent drug, the therapeutic effects, well, what is the therapeutic effect of the parent drug? It's blocking progesterone, which is a vital fertility hormone. So if you're blocking progesterone, which is a hormone you need for pregnancy, it's what helps supply all the nutrients to the baby, et cetera, there's absolutely a huge concern there. Low doses of exposure to that over time, what is that going to do, like you say, to pregnant women? What is that going to do? And what is it going to do to men? It can also, progesterone is a hormone that men also need. And so we see that this is absolutely something the federal government needs to be paying attention to. And it failed to do so, like I said, when it originally approved the drug.
But thankfully, RFK Jr., he testified he was going to look into this. Is that right? I read that in your report.
Well, technically, he said he would look into infertility causes, and he also called on Commissioner of the FDA, Makary, to look at mifepristone more broadly. What we're suggesting, very humbly proposing to RFK and to others at the federal government, is that if you're already going to research what is causing infertility. We have an infertility crisis in this nation. RFK said we're going to look at infertility, including by looking at endocrine disruptors. So mifepristone is a potential endocrine disruptor. I've already explained, how it's highly likely that this is part of the cause, at least, for our infertility crisis. So he's promised to look into that. We've also seen that there's been a promise to look at mifepristone, directing the FDA to relook at mifepristone more generally. So we're saying that if you're going to look at mifepristone, make sure you include the infertility impacts that it could have, and make sure you include a full and legally compliant environmental assessment, which was not completed when it should have been. So I'll just really quickly drill down on that. So a full environmental assessment would include both looking at the mifepristone metabolites that are excreted into the water, as well as the fetal remains. So these fetal remains should be disposed of according to medical waste regulations or fetal disposition laws. So in some states, there are laws that require cremation or interment of aborted babies. They tend to only apply to surgical abortions. And then if that's not the case, you also still have medical waste regulations. And so we don't throw medical waste down the toilet. If a hospital was to do that, it'd be outrageous. And yet annually, we're putting 40 tons of aborted babies and all the placenta blood tissue into our waterways. I just can't even begin to describe how disturbing that is. And it is absolutely a national scandal, and we need to be looking at this. The other thing, like I say, the mifepristone metabolite. So we need to be studying that to see what effect that could have on our drinking water. And so making sure that all the approvals that were done originally are relooked at, so the environmental assessment and the legal compliance aspects are there.
Let's go back real quick. This abortion pill, which was approved in 2019, is that right?
So, very good question. It was originally approved in 2000. Then subsequently in 2019, they approved a generic version of the pill. Actually in several other years, in 2011, 2016, 2022, and 2023, they approved changes in the use of the pill. Their REMS safety protocols were changed. Every single one of those times, they should have actually redone an environmental assessment. So not only did they fail to do an environmental assessment when they originally approved it, they failed to do it at least 5 more times when they were legally required to do it. So
the FDA approves this, and they did some kind of abbreviated application. Did I read that right in your report?
Yep. So in 2019, they did an abbreviated new drug application, which you can do if you're introducing a generic version of a drug. However, as I say, in this case specifically, because you have extraordinary circumstances present, that would be the medical waste that's introduced. Consider this: no other drug on the market generates medical waste. No other drug on the market requires you to dispose of medical waste. That's an extraordinary circumstance. So in the case of mifepristone, they should have been doing an environmental assessment, even though they would claim because, for example, it's an abbreviated drug application, you don't have to. No, you absolutely have to. You never considered it in the first place. You certainly need to consider it now.
So I want to go back to the drug being in our water. While there maybe haven't been studies done, what does your analysis tell you? What is your probable theory here? Yeah. Do you believe this is leading to women not being able to be fertile and or causing abortions?
I believe absolutely it is highly likely that it is part of the infertility crisis. Now, I'm not going to go so far as to say it is the cause, but there is a clear correlation between the increase in the use of the chemical abortion pill and the increase in infertility. If you look at graphs side by side, and I wish I could hold one up for you, but there is one in the report. So I encourage folks, to check out the report.
Do you know what page that is on? What page? Because I have the report in front of me.
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know exactly what page it's on, but
okay, I'll scan through. While you're talking, I'll scan through. I think I just found it, actually.
I have the report sitting here, too. Okay.
Here's one here. Medication abortions account for more than 60% of all abortions. There's one graph right there. I don't think that's the one you're talking about.
No, that's not the one.
Okay. I'll keep looking.
It's another one. Yep. It shows the increase, the decrease. It's actually showing the decrease in fertility. Okay. That's what you're looking for. So you see that, but that was helpful. You showed the graph that shows an increase in abortion rates, and at the same time, we have a decrease in fertility. And so what we're seeing here is a clear correlation. And so we're arguing, and this is just some food for thought, consider that as we're increasing the amount of progesterone blocking metabolites that are going into our water, and we know that wastewater treatment plants are not getting these contaminants out of our water, right? So they're going into the water. Our drinking water filtration processes are not equipped to remove these sort of metabolites. We know at least 26 other pharmaceuticals have been found in our drinking water. It is highly likely these are in our drinking water as well. And given this, it is something that we're just saying to the federal government, can you prove it's not? Can you prove that this is not? Because honestly, if it is, this is of utmost concern. It's tragic to think that this could be affecting the fertility of Americans, and when so many people are struggling to conceive, we believe it's a crisis and a public health emergency that needs to be addressed immediately.
I'm not an attorney, but I would say it's criminal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. By failing to do the assessment as they should have done in 2000, they broke several laws. They broke the laws according to the Clean Water Act, the National Environmental Policy Act. And like I say, every single state has regulations, has laws on medical waste disposal. Allowing women to dispose of their medical waste on the toilet violates all of these laws. And the report details this more in depth, but I'll just give you one example on the medical waste laws. Consider the fact that an abortion provider is the generator of the medical waste. So who is generating the medical waste in this instance? You're issuing pills to a woman. You're taking that first step, that first action that causes the generation of the medical waste. Without your action of giving those pills, there would be no medical waste generated. In every other instance, a provider of medical care is required to dispose of the medical waste that's generated. Consider that when you have an amputee, you don't give the patient back their leg to dispose of. In a surgical abortion, the abortion provider is not giving the woman the fetal remains and saying, here, you go dispose of this. They're disposing of it according to the proper medical waste regulations in their state. By failing to do so, all these abortion providers, I believe, are breaking the law.
Is that the chart?
That's showing a decrease in fertility. So we see a decrease in fertility or since 2000, since the abortion pill was approved until now. And like the other chart that you showed, I don't know if you can do a side by side with that. That shows the increase in the use of the chemical abortion pill. But we're saying clear correlation now. And hear what I'm saying, not what I'm not saying. I'm not saying causation. I'm saying there's correlation, and it absolutely deserves to be researched. And this falls right alongside a recent recommendation from the Maha Commission report that says similarly, we need to be researching into the environmental contaminants that could be affecting Americans' health. It's focused specifically on children's health, but we would just expand that and say all Americans' health, and we need to be looking at the pollutants, the pharmaceuticals, and the endocrine disruptors that are in our water, as per the Maha report. Well, mifepristone is all three.
Absolutely. If people want to get the report, it's available at lc.org.
LCaction.org.
Yeah, thank you. I just saw that. lcaction.org. LC stands for Liberty Council, obviously. lcaction.org. Abortion in our water. So we're talking about abortion chemicals and baby body parts in the water. And this is not disputed. This is fact, right?
This is fact. Absolutely, this is fact. I mean, it's really it's hard to think about, and you might think that I'm speaking a bit clinically about the fact that we're disposing of approximately 700,000 babies down the toilet every year.
Whoa! 700,000 babies down the toilet that end up also in your drinking water.
Well, we want to be careful here. So what happens with the chemical abortion pill, as I said, it's used in the vast majority of abortions of over 1 million. There's over 1 million abortions, and say 70% of those are chemical abortions. It's approximately 700,000. It's going into our sewers, our water systems, and wastewater treatment plants aren't equipped to fully get all those contaminants out. And so what you have are the fetal remains. Granted, they're going to be at a higher molecular level, but those fetal remains at that level are getting into the water supply, and so are those mifepristone metabolites. Then what is getting into our drinking water? Because now all that's in our water supply, and our drinking water filtration systems are equally not equipped to remove all of the pharmaceutical contaminants, the mifepristone metabolites that are in our water. And so we're saying, federal government, study this. You need to study this. I mean, even, just the idea that this is happening, if I know this is in my water supply, these fetal remains and mifepristone metabolites that are not getting fully filtered out, that's disturbing. That's going to disturb my relationship with the environment. And that in and of itself is a potential violation of the National Environmental Policy Act.
Wow, great work, Abigail. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Folks, I hope you go read the report, lcaction.org, and thank you to the Liberty Council for this report and for the guest. We'll be right back.
Introducing the Sentry Wellness System, the ultimate undersink water treatment solution designed with you in mind. Say goodbye to harmful toxins and hello to water enriched with essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium. Enjoy the benefits of increased pH for on-demand alkalinity, all from a zero-waste system that fits seamlessly into your home. Installation is a breeze, taking just 15 minutes, so you can have clean, healthy, great-tasting water straight from your tap. Perfect for apartments, homes, rentals, and even RVs. Elevate your hydration and well-being with the Sentry Wellness System because you deserve the best in every drop.
Sentry H2O. Tap into wellness.
Consumers often ask, what should I expect when I take the Bella Grace elixir? And the answer's varied. It really depends on what your health and wellness needs are. I would consider this as your foundational core product for a whole range of health and wellness issues. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a little bit older and you have some joint health issues, some problems with mobility and discomfort, the elixir is going to be your best friend. If you have some skin health issues, wrinkles, hydration, aging, all of those elements are going to be benefited from the elixir, including age spots. Now, if you're in a younger demographic, maybe visual health is where you need some assistance. Eye fatigue, dry eyes, all of those are going to be benefited by the elixir. It's a core product because it benefits so many.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon Howse.
Joining me now is Michael Weiner. Let's get a financial update. Michael, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Brannon. Good to see you.
You too, my friend. Let's get right into this war. It's escalating, and now we have a lot of military assets there in the region. There's also talk of Iran threatening to carry out suicide bombings on the Strait of Hormuz, which would send energy prices very high. What is this all likely? If this goes into being a bigger Middle Eastern war, what is this going to do to the price of silver and gold?
Well, first of all, gold and silver always react positively to something like this. Last time we saw something like this was the Iranian crisis back when you were a kid in 1979.
That's right.
I was only 240 at that time. And at the end of the day, gold went up literally 600% in 5 months.
Wow.
So I would expect a lot of it.
600%?
600%? It went from $148 an ounce in August of 1970. I was there live, 1979, to $830. Brandon, we had people at my company that I owned in those days in line at the offices. We had television cameras coming to shoot. It was like we were an ice cream store on a hot summer day.
Wow.
The reality is it was that crazy. And I think something like that could be in store for us because during chaotic times, people reach for security and they don't look for bonds and they don't look for stock certificates to make that happen. But it's also the world. It's a different time right now. We're a different country and a different world right now. And I think some things are going to happen that have to happen, but monetarily, the dollar right now is, unfortunately, is in the middle of being salvaged, because had Trump not won, we'd be dealing with a global currency already, and China would be calling the shots. So that's why they're coming out very aggressively next month with all their plans and agendas to challenge us as a world reserve currency.
Let's look at what Trump had to say I think yesterday or the day before, on the lack of cuts by your buddy, Jerome Powell. Listen to this.
We should be 2 points lower. It'd be nice to be 2.5 points lower. We'd be saving $800 billion, $700 billion. That's a lot of money, right? Take it for nothing, for absolutely nothing. We'd save $600, $700, $800 billion. We have, I think we're 38th now in interest, and we should be number one. We should be the lowest. Now we have a man that just refuses to lower the Fed rate, just refuses to do it. Maybe I should go to the Fed. Am I allowed to appoint myself, Doug? I don't know. Am I allowed to appoint myself at the Fed? I do a much better job than these people.
Now, when he's saying how much money we'd save, I'm guessing he's meaning if they lowered the interest rates, that's how much money we'd save on our national debt being financed.
Correct. And not only that, what's really upsetting about the Federal Reserve right now, it's supposed to be a group of people that have different ideas to come up with one good one. These people vote unanimously, which is scary. And what is also scary is that they were willing to lower interest rates right before the election, which helped Biden when things were still high in inflation and everything was uncertain. But let alone with interest rates, with inflation going down, things ultimately improving, they're not doing a thing. And that's what literally makes them stand out as a geopolitical operation and not an independent financial consortium of minds. And that has to be brought back or get rid of them.
Yeah,
literally.
look at what Trump tweeted out. Too late, that's what he calls him. Too late, Jerome Powell is costing our country hundreds of billions of dollars. He is truly one of the dumbest and most destructive people in government, and the Fed board is complicit. Europe has had 10 cuts. We have had none. We should be 2.5 points lower and save billions on Biden's short-term debt. We have low inflation. Too late's an American disgrace.
It's absolutely right. He's 100% spot on. Powell, even his logic of what he's doing, all is he's saying is tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. Well, tariffs. The reason there's tariffs and there's going to be a problem, and we're going to have all kinds of issues. We've been dealing with the big major part of tariffs for the last 6 months, and inflation's gone down. We're in the halo dime of tariffs. They're cutting deals. We're going to hear all this good news, and it's already out there. And these guys are doing the opposite. So they are nothing more than a geopolitical operation. I'm 100% for Trump firing this idiot. He is the most.
Can he?
Absolutely.
Can he?
He can, but it would be too hard. That's the whole issue.
How? I mean, how do you? Why? How do you fire him? I think. I guess he's the one that pointed him, and he gets a 10-year term. I think, right?
It has to go through Congress, and it would be a little bit of a mess, to say the least. But if he continues with this through the fall, I mean, we're stuck with this idiot all the way through May. And there's another guy in there that Biden threw a bunch of his cronies in there, including Austin Goolsbee, who is just nothing more than a radical left-wing zealot from University of Chicago. He used to be a smart guy, who really isn't, who's now on the board and been there. And he sort of twists and curves and spins things around. Before they can solve a lot of problems, they really need to get these guys in tow. And I don't think that's going to happen until next May, because that's when when Jerome Powell will be gone.
Let's go to a clip here by Kash Patel talking about the Federal Reserve. Have you guys ever seen this clip by him? It's a pretty good clip. Watch.
So I think we got to educate people that the Federal Reserve is not a public government entity. It's a private entity owned by the robber barons that started this country, who manipulate the currency to their advantage. And that needs to be tackled. Again, I'm not the economic guru. I just know it's a problem. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what the solution is, but it needs to be addressed.
Well, look at that. When was the last time you knew of an FBI director that knew the Federal Reserve was set up for the robber barons, as he said?
Well, look at the guy, Andrew Jackson had a problem with these type of people. It's the deep state. And the reality is that the guy by the name of John F. Kennedy, 2 weeks before he was killed, signed an executive order to get rid of them. And his father warned him not to do it, to get rid of them. And 2 weeks later, he mysteriously died. These guys are really powerful. They have way too much power. They need to be reined in. Maybe once Trump, like what he's trying to do with the education department, which is a total joke. I mean, watching that gal, Randy Weinberg, is like watching Bozo the Clown. I mean, this gal is a raving idiot, jumping up around. And the fact that educated people who educate our children listen to this idiot is, I think that he should date Randy Weingarten. Jerome Powell and Randy, they'd be a lovely couple. Dumb and dumber, literally. I mean, it's amazing what comes out of her mouth, but it's amazing what comes out of his mouth. In that announcement that he made was nothing substantive other than the fact of tariffs, really. So, I believe what Thomas Jefferson said in 1803 at his inaugural. We do not need to tax our citizens, we tariff. Well, guess what? What's the problem here? That's the issue.
Let's see here. Just for those who maybe don't know who he's talking about, the national, what is it? Is that the federal, what is that called? The Federal Teachers Union? The Federal Teachers Union?
Yeah, Teachers Union is, yeah, correct.
I got to get a clip of her. What's her name again? How you spell it?
Randy Weingarten. She's absolutely, I mean.
Yeah, we've showed clips of her before.
to think that somebody would vote this person in. She's on the DNC's board. Now she got kicked from the DNC board. You would think that she would be apolitical. Instead, she's totally political.
No. The teachers unions, National Federation of Teachers, the National Education Association, they are also hyper political, progressive Marxist types. Absolutely. Look, here she is. Here she is. Hope you're not eating dinner, folks.
You are the community to this president's chaos. And together, we build a future of opportunity and justice for all. Hope over fear, aspiration over anger, the promise of America for each and every American. That is what we are fighting for today.
And you guys know why the educational system in America is in the dumpster. These are the clowns. These are the clowns and degenerates, in my opinion, that are running it.
Exactly. That's why I sent my kids to private Christian school. Literally, this is. I'll tell you what, and that was in California. California school system years ago was a disaster. Even if you lived in a good neighborhood, they were busing in kids that were illegals, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. And when I used to go to the school and I tried to send my kids there, they said, we teach English education first, so teach them how to speak English. We can't really educate elsewhere. That's why people busted their rear ends to legitimately pay to educate their children outside the public school system, although they paid ridiculous taxes to it.
Yep, 100%. Let me ask you, the price of gold, where are we at now? About 33?
Right about 33.60, and the reality is I stand by my position. I think when Trump does something, and I sort of, we've been negotiating with Iran for 40 years, 50 years, and here we are. How can we go back to negotiating anymore? It's a waste of time. That's what brought us to where we are right now. We need to finish this one way or the other. The only way I cut a deal with Iran is if we can send our military in to watch them dismantle it. Our military could go there and watch them. I don't believe anything they say. I don't believe a word that comes out of their mouth at all. And what I'm worried about is my grandchildren, not me. If they get a bomb 10 years from now, they will use it. Period.
Let's talk about silver real quick. Silver is over $36 an ounce.
I think silver has a long way to go yet.
I mean, wasn't it just at $33 a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
So it's already moved over $3 in a few weeks. But
I would be looking at silver heading up close to $60 to $80. I think I'm looking between 40 and 50 before year end. We're heading up to, once we go over 40, it's going to get interesting. It's going to get very close to the 50 range. So I think that we could be between 50 and 60 before year end. The same thing with my gold prediction is not stopping. November, $4,000 gold, and year end, 4,200. That's it.
So that would put gold at an all-time high and silver. To get to the all-time high for silver, we got to get back to $50.
Correct. So we have a lot of room in silver, whereas everybody the people who are afraid to buy gold, and shame on you, you're going to say that at 4,000. Gold is at a new all-time high because gold is money again. China has made an announcement about a new currency. It's coming out next month in the Rio Reset, and it's going to be going on in Rio de Janeiro. They're introducing new currencies. They're introducing new financial systems. They're introducing new financial payment systems, new digital systems, and tied into all of that is gold. And what they're trying to do is overtake the United States position as a world reserve currency. And that is terrible, because if they did, we would lose financial, geopolitical, economic, military status. Basant knows it. Trump knows it. That's why they're auditing Fort Knox, because they want to gather the information so they can reprice our gold and get in the game. So we're in a good position to fight. But if you want to fight individually, CDs aren't the issue. Create your own precious metal bank, because that's the caboose at the end of the train.
All right, so if people want to get a packet of information, free, no obligation packet, including how to put gold into their IRA, all you got to do is go to worldviewgold.com and fill out the form, worldviewgold.com, or you can text Wes Peters at 602, what is it, guys? 602? It is, right? 602-558-8585. I don't want to give out the wrong number. Yeah, 602.
Right.
602-558-8585. 602-558-8585. You can just text Wes your name and number that you want the free pack. He'll send it. Otherwise, you can fill it out online at worldviewgold.com, worldviewgold.com. Get gold into your IRA, or you can just sit and wait and watch as gold and silver hits record highs. Closing comment, 20 seconds.
I would tell anybody right now who is sitting back and looking at their portfolios and sitting on their hands, don't sit on your hands. Take action. Be involved. Act versus react. You know, Wes and I are here to help you. We do want to sit back and mention that the people who are going to call us up the most is when gold is 36 and 3,700. The people who are planning properly are taking action now.
Yep, take action now, folks. Worldviewgold.com or 602-558-8585. Michael Weiner, Swiss America. I've been working with him for 17 years now. Okay. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. And, folks, we'll be right back after this break. All right, that's our broadcast for tonight. Hey, I'll be back Sunday night. Hopefully there's not going to be any breaking news so I can take off tomorrow, Saturday, and just study. I mean, take off, quote, take off. I mean, I don't have to put a suit on and come to the desk. I can just study on the book of Revelation, chapter 17, Saturday and Sunday, and then bring it to you Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central, right here on World YouTube as I continue teaching through the book of Revelation, verse by verse. Lesson 41, I think it is. So Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. I hope you'll be with us. Hey, folks, remember we're brought to you by you. Obviously, there's worldviewtube.com/sponsors, but another great way, one of the most powerful ways you can support us is by just simply going to worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. And folks, you can also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. You'll also find our phone number there. If you'd like to call and leave a voicemail for Melissa or text her, she'll get back with you and help you make a contribution over the phone. By the way, do you know we have several families that have left us in their planned giving? Did you know you could do that? Yeah, you can leave us in your planned giving. We have some folks that have said our kids are so against our Christian worldview, we're not leaving our estate to them. They've called us and told us that. And they are like, we're leaving it to the foundation so you can keep pushing out Christian worldview programming. Because our kids are into all this woke cultural Marxism and they mock our faith and our Christianity. It's sad. It's sad. Frankly, I pray those kids, if they don't know the Lord, come to know the Lord, change their worldview, and the parents can change their will and give it to them, because that's sad. I don't want to see that. But we get those kind of phone calls. Or people saying, yeah, we were going to leave it to our church, but our church has gone woke, you know? So we have more and more people saying, we really appreciate, Brannon, your 35 years, a track record of 35 years, and we want to leave your foundation in our estate planning so that this programming, which, by the way, our programming is so evergreen, meaning when I teach on the book of Revelation, if I were to die tomorrow, Logan and the team would be able to keep recirculating so much of what I've done over the years because the Bible is true. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of God will stand forever, right? But we also always will have, God will always have his people that come forward to speak truth to his people, right? So there are plans in place should something happen to me to keep the network and everything going. And with the assistance of our foundation to keep pushing it out for free. So if you're one of those people that really appreciates what we do and you would like to include us in your estate planning, I should say, all you got to do is text Melissa at that number on our website. Just text her and say, hey, I want your organization's EIN number and your official address. And you give that to your attorney that does your estate planning, put in our phone number and our EIN number and our official mailing address. And if something, God forbid, were to happen to you and your estate gets settled, they'll get a hold of us. We've had it happen. We've had attorneys send us a letter saying so-and-so passed away and they made provision for your foundation in their trust or in their estate plans. And within 6 months to a year after that letter, they settled out and sent a check. And you know what? That's a powerful legacy to keep things going. So if you want to put us in your estate planning, you can do that. Just simply text Melissa or leave her a voicemail. Again, the phone number is on our website there at worldviewfoundation.com. And she'll get you that phone number, our official phone number, which is really that number, our official mailing address, and our EIN number for you to be able to do that. All right. Thank you for your support. worldviewfoundation.com. All right, roll the music, guys. Let's call it a night. It's been a long week, has it not? Been a long week. It's been a kind of an emotional week, to be honest with you. Up and down, up and down. These are serious topics. And it's also been kind of a stressful week because, we're dealing with topics that upset some people. They get mad, they misunderstand what we're saying. And then it's also been kind of stressful to watch the MAGA movement going at each other, right? So I think for a lot of us, it's been a tough week because we want our president to be successful. We want our country to be successful, right? So I think for a lot of us, it's been kind of an emotional, stressful week. But let's pray things go according to God's plan, right? And pray for our president. Pray for President Trump. Pray for him to have wisdom, for him to have discernment. Pray for President Trump's protection. Pray that for all our leaders. The Bible says to do that. Hey, while you're at it, pray for me and pray for us here at this network, will you? Thanks for watching. May God save America. Take care.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon Howse.
I'm glad you are with us. I covered it last night on Brannon House Live, but I must keep my radio audience informed as well here on the VCY America Radio Network, WROS out of Jacksonville, and Worldview Tube. Well, you guys know I've been pounding the desk for about a week asking for the President of the United States to address the American people with an Oval Office address, warning them, or at least walk down the long hallway into the East Room and warn the American people about the terror cells among us. You guys know I've been saying that all week. That's really been my biggest criticism of President Trump, is the lack of leadership on preparing the American people for this war on our soil. President Trump, in so many ways, is doing a magnificent job in his, not even first 6 months in office. And we pray it will continue. But if we have America's involvement in this war, and that opens up the terror cells in the U.S., if this spreads further to the Strait of Hormuz, energy prices skyrocket, inflation comes roaring back, the midterms, I think, could be devastating. And thus the domestic policy of President Trump ruined. And you guys know that I warned about that on this broadcast many times before he was even elected. I said, what will these guys do? What will the globalists do? What will the power brokers, the power elite, the bankers, what will they do to disrupt President Trump from making America great again, from neutering the Federal Reserve and this unconstitutional system of the Federal Reserve and our progressive income tax system? And so much more. And now we may be looking at it. We may be looking at what it is they had planned. So many of us thought, wow, the Democrats are kind of being quiet the first couple months. Well, maybe that's because they knew something was coming. And they're even kind of being quiet now. Have any of you noticed that? You don't hear a lot of Democrats saying too much. Now you got the people in the streets, but you don't see too many Democrat leaders having a whole lot to say right now. I'm not saying there aren't some out there saying something, but a lot of them are not saying a whole lot right now. You know why, I think? They want to make sure that there's plenty of airtime and ink for the MAGA movement to fight each other and to make sure that that is what gets the airtime, the newsprint. They don't want to take up the oxygen in the room. Hey, when your enemy is in the middle of destroying itself with an internal fight, step back and be quiet. I think that's what a lot of the Democrats are doing. President Trump today tweeted out that we need a special prosecutor to look into the massive election fraud of 2020. He's absolutely right. Well, do we really need a special prosecutor? Can't we just have the FBI and the DOJ do their job? So do we really need a special prosecutor? But we certainly need massive investigations, and it's well underway, thanks again, apparently, to FBI Director Kash Patel, who released this week the information that apparently our own CIA and FBI and DHS all wanted destroyed and buried during the Biden regime. Again, where are the grand juries? Where are the indictments? Where are the arrests? We have to have this. But all of that, folks, could never happen may never happen, particularly if President Trump's party loses the midterms and he and his administration are swimming in alligators with one subpoena after another. But I will say it has now come out due to CBS News on Thursday evening, what I've been pounding the desk over all week long. All weekend, on the air 2 hours Saturday, 2 hours Sunday, and pounding the desk on all week. This main point, terrorist cells in the U.S. Where is this discussion? Well, it's now out. And thank you, CBS News. But why now? Why is CBS News reporting this now? How many years have I been talking about the terror cells in the U.S.? Radio shows, TV shows, documentaries, conferences, articles. Only to be called conspiracy theorist, Islamophobic, all kinds of other things. Well, I don't really care about that because I have the facts. I've interviewed so many people, former CIA analysts, former FBI agents, the former Deputy Assistant Director of the Counterterrorism Division of the FBI.